proliferation of paper, and then what the Muslims did with that, and then what the Muslims did with the second invention, and that is that of the printing press. So let us begin. And there's more paper printed today after the age of the internet than before. A lot of people think that the internet is the demise of printing and paper. In fact, the opposite is true. That research has shown that there's more paper printed post-internet than pre-internet. And it was a guild. Whoever wanted to learn the art of paper making had to join this guild, and only if you are part of the guild would you be taught how to make paper. It didn't become a public knowledge. It was a private, bones were papyrus. Papyrus had been invented by the Egyptians, and papyrus was the most commonly used material in Mesopotamia. But in Arabia, when the Quran came down, papyrus was very difficult to get a hold of. When the Quran came down, the primary material that the Muslims used were leaves that came from the date palms, which they made a type of papyrus out of. Not as good as Egyptian, but they had some type of basic material of making this parchment of leaf. And they also used shoulder bones of camels. Camels have large shoulder bones. So they were right on this. The volume, the size. And we have copies of the Quran written on leather. And you have pictures, you can Google it. I wanted to make a PowerPoint, but I didn't have time. I just got back yesterday, as you know. You can Google it. A copy of the Quran written in the first 50 years. It is, and I kid you not, almost as big as this table. That high, this high, and bigger than this table in width, and 3/4 of this table in length. This is a Quran that we have from around 60 or 70 Hijrah, an entire Quran in Egypt, and it is written on leather. Now can you imagine, every paper is a leather skin, how much is going to be there, right? So a Quran that big, this is not a personal copy. When Abu Bakr wrote the Qurans, he wrote them on camel leather. And we can imagine that that Quran would have been bigger than 2.5, 3 feet in width. Lengthwise 4 or 5 feet, and widthwise as well. So this is massive Quran. This is what leather is going to do. For the time, anything written on leather will decompose, just like skin is going to decompose. So paper is very different. Paper does not decompose. Another major importance of paper is that, generally speaking, paper absorbs ink far more permanently. Unlike leather. Leather, all they had to do when they wanted to reuse the leather was to put it in water for a few hours or a day, and then take it out and let it dry, and they could reuse the letter all over again, right? And so one of the ways to destroy a book was to put it in water. Whereas in our times, paper, of course, the paper will ruin the water, but the ink will still be on there, right? So paper also absorbs the ink better. Now, getting back to the topic.